Welcome on in, everybody, here to Auburn Undercover, the Auburn Undercover YouTube channel. My name is Nathan King, here with Jason Caldwell. We are here in Columbia, Missouri, bright and early. A little chilly.
Yeah.
I think it's going to get a little warmer over the course of the day. Should be a great day of football here for Auburn's second road game. Obviously, they come out of their bye week to play number 19 Missouri today. Jason, this is a really interesting game because for Auburn, obviously looking to turn around their season as they enter the second half of the year. For Missouri, they're sitting at 5-1. Haven't necessarily played what they think could have been their expectations this season. So for Auburn, they're obviously looking to get right here in this game. Missouri, on the other side, is looking to get right in a game that they view as one they, based on the rest of their schedule, they don't need to lose this game at home to a team like Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, this different. You're kind of like intersecting teams. You got Missouri thinking, hey, going in with playoff hopes, and then you lose at Texas A&M, and all of a sudden you lose today, and with what's left on their schedule, which looked really manageable early in the year. Now all of a sudden it looks a little different for Auburn. Flush the first half. You got 6 games here in the second half. You're 2-4. Can you build some momentum? Find a couple of plays out of here and try to get a win. And so you got different kind of intersecting lines going on today.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting again to begin that second half of the season for Auburn. Big test. Hugh Freeze talked about it this week. Two of the better receivers in the league in Luther Burden and Theo Weiss for Missouri. Going to be a really big test, not only for Jay Crawford, the young corner who's come on, been really good, was a 24/7 Sports midseason freshman All-American. But this is a game, at least for me, Jason. Kay and Lee had so much hype going into the season. He's been not great, but good. He's held up there at that number 1 cornerback spot. This is going to be a big test for that secondary that has done some pretty good things this season, and Kay and Lee and Jay Crawford in particular are going to have a big test on the outside.
Yeah, Kinsley Faustin, maybe your third corner. So you got a true sophomore and a couple of true freshmen that play maybe as important for Auburn today. Maybe Keldrick Falk, Jalen McLeod. We see more Kieron Crawford. Do we see some DeMarcus Riddick? And then maybe do we see a little bit more Eugene Asante and linebacker kind of? I wonder if we see more pressure. I think this is the kind of team. We've seen the running quarterback guys. Sometimes it's hard to pressure those. Brady Cook can run, but he's not a scrambling runner as much. Maybe we see a little bit more pressure. I think you have to mix it up, but I think you're going to have to help these young corners some, because trying to play in coverage all day against these guys is probably not going to work.
Yeah, because if you haven't watched Missouri this year, not as consistent and dynamic in the passing game as they had hoped. Brady Cook's numbers still pretty good, but looks more like that 2022 version of himself than the one last year. Teams have had a little bit of success getting pressure. Keeping Missouri out of 3rd and long is really big for me, Jason. I didn't realize this till last night. They're number 13 nationally in 3rd down conversion. So if you let them consistently get to 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, it's going to be a really long day for your defense. On the other side, you mentioned Keldrick Falk and Jalen McLeod have had good pass rushing success this year. You've got to help out your secondary there in that aspect. On the other side of things, it'll continue to be Peyton Thorne for Auburn at quarterback. Even with some of his mistakes that he's made, he clearly gives them the best chance to win. But something that Hugh Freeze talked about this week, Jason, is getting 2-7 more touches. That was something in the bye week that was a big focus for them. How are they going to go about that today? I think you and I would both be surprised if Jarquez Hunter is not a big focal point for this offensive approach today.
I think it's touches in the passing game. Touches, we saw some of that against Georgia. A couple of big catches for him and doing the things he did. And so you start going, how many more touches can you get? A lot of that may depend on being able to convert some 3rd downs, keep some drives alive. That's been the issue for them. It hasn't been the lack of running touches. It's been the lack of touches, period. You saw it against Oklahoma, 75 plays, they ran it 43 times. And so they ran the ball when they had some extended drives. And so can you avoid the crucial mistakes that cause a 3 and out? Obviously, can you avoid turnovers? I think if you do those things, then Jarquez is the guy that I think you can get the ball to. And we've seen running backs have big days here before. Auburn's only played here once, and when they did, Kerryon Johnson had a big day. Auburn had a big game. Much different Mizzou and a much different atmosphere this time than we saw a few years ago. Yeah,
it should be a good crowd here on homecoming. Potentially a little late arriving based on what we're looking at this morning, but should be a really good one here today. Jason, regardless of who is in this offensive game plan, who gets more touches, Jarquez Hunter, you and I mentioned this morning, maybe you try to get a guy like Cam Coleman the ball in space to increase his confidence. Regardless of what that looks like for Auburn today, you mentioned the execution. That was Hugh Freeze's buzzword during the bye week, and for good reason. This is the start to the second half of the year for Auburn, where they are saying, let's cut out the little mistakes, whether it's penalties, whether it's pushing yourself back on 3rd down, whether it's the turnovers they've cut down on a little bit. But this is now a point where, and Hugh Freeze said it this week, he said he will be very, very frustrated with this team if they cannot execute in those critical moments, because it was such a big focus for them during the bye week.
I think when you start thinking about it, going, what do you do? This Auburn offense has actually made some plays. It's been making plays in crucial moments. It's been turnovers, those things. You go in and go, look, what do? in the bye week, you go get the ball to your best players. 27 is one of your best players. Obviously, Keandre Lambert-Smith, they've gotten the ball to. But you think about Cam Coleman, Malcolm Simmons. To me, those are the four guys offensively. And then we talked about it earlier this week, Rivaldo Fairweather. We haven't seen him have kind of those impact plays. Maybe you try to attack the middle of the field a little bit with Rivaldo Fairweather today, but you got to get the ball in the hands of your best players. And for me, those are your best players on offense.
Should be going today, 11 a.m. Central Time here in Columbia, Missouri. Auburn taking on the Orange and Blue Tigers, taking on the Black and Gold Tigers here in Columbia. For Jason Caldwell, I'm Nathan King. We will see you guys after the game.